Hi, middle schoolers. Today we're going to be reading Chapter 10, Sections 1, 2, and 3. So please open up TCI to Chapter 10, also called Lesson 10, The Kingdom of Cush. We're going to read the introduction, then you can pause the video and you can work on the reading notes for Section 1. Then I'll read Section 2, you'll do the reading notes, then finally I'll read Section 3 and you will complete the reading notes. All right, Section 1, Introduction. In this chapter, you will learn about the African kingdom of Cush. Cush was located on the Nile River to the south of Egypt. The civilization of Cush thrived from about 2000 BCE to 350 CE. Cush and Egypt had a close relationship throughout much of Cush's long history. Signs of their close ties can be found in pictures on the walls of some Egyptian tombs and temples. A good example is the tomb of Hatshepsut, Egypt's first female pharaoh. Many painted scenes of Egyptian life decorate the walls, but on closer examination, not all the people in the paintings are Egyptian. Some people look a little different. They have darker skin and curly hair. These people are Cushites. In some scenes, the Cushites appear to be bearing gifts. In others, they look as if they are armed with bows and arrows. As these images suggest, Egypt and Cush had a complicated relationship. Sometimes it was peaceful, often it was not. In this chapter, you will learn about the relationship between Egypt and Cush and the influence of each culture on the other. You will also discover how the location of Cush influenced its history and how Cush created its own unique civilization. Please pause the video and work at the reading notes for Section 1. All right, let's move on to Section 2. Section 2, the Egyptianization of Cush. That's a tough word to say. Aside from Egypt, Cush was the greatest ancient civilization in Africa. Like its neighbor to the north, Cush grew up around the fertile banks of the Nile River. Cush was known for its rich gold mines. In fact, another name for Cush is Nubia, which comes from Nub, the Egyptian word for gold. Cush's location and natural resources made it an important trading hub or center. Cush links Central and Southern Africa to Egypt. Pharaohs sent expeditions on ships south along the Nile to buy or sometimes steal goods. The Egyptians traded grain and linen for Cush's gold, ivory, leather, and timber. The Egyptians also bought slaves. At times, Egypt raided Cush or took control of some of its lands. During the New Kingdom, about 1600 to 1100 BCE, Egypt's power was at its height. Egypt conquered Cush. Cush was forced to pay tribute to Egypt in the form of gifts. The pharaoh appointed a governor to make sure the tribute was paid every year. The Cushites gave the governor gold, cattle, ivory, ebony, ostrich feathers, and slaves. While under Egypt's control, Cushite society became Egyptianized, or more like Egypt. For example, Cushites spoke and wrote in Egyptian. They worshipped Egyptian gods and wore Egyptian-style clothing. Cush's archers, that means the people who shot bow and arrow, fought in Egypt's army. Cush's royal princes were sent to Egypt to be educated. Around 1100 BCE, Egypt's new kingdom collapsed. Cush regained its independence. However, Egyptian culture persisted. That means it lasted. About 900 BCE, a new line of Cushite kings was established. But even these kings continued to follow Egyptian traditions. Please work on the reading notes for Section 2 and pause the video. All right, so you should have read Sections 1 and 2 and should have completed the reading notes for Sections 1 and 2. Now let's move on to Section 3. Section 3. Cush conquers Egypt. After the collapse of the New Kingdom, Egypt fell into political chaos. At least 10 Egyptian kingdoms fought one another for power. The constant fighting made Egypt weak and unstable. In the mid-700s BCE, Cush took advantage of Egypt's weakness. Cushite armies invaded Egypt. In about 730 BCE, the kings in northern Egypt surrendered to Pi, the king of Cush. After his conquest of Egypt, Pi declared himself pharaoh. One of his titles was Uniter of the Two Lands. The kingdom of Cush now extended 1,500 miles. It reached from the Cushite city of Meroe, located on the southern Nile River, to the Mediterranean Sea in the north. In Egypt, Pi and his family became the 25th dynasty, or line of rulers. Cushite pharaohs ruled over Egypt for nearly a century. Historians have traditionally called them the Black Pharaohs. The Cushite pharaohs did not want to destroy Egypt. Instead, they wanted to revive Egypt's past glory. They built magnificent new temples and pyramids in both Egypt and Cush. One of the most beautiful was the temple at Jebel Barkal. It was modeled after the temple built by Egyptian pharaoh Ramses II at Abu Simbel. By the 670s BCE, Egypt was being attacked by the Assyrians. The Assyrians had created a powerful empire in Mesopotamia. In 671 BCE, an Assyrian king invaded Egypt. For many years, the Cushites tried to hold off the forces of the Assyrians, but the Assyrians used their advanced iron weapons to drive the Cushites out of Egypt. By the mid-650s BCE, the last of the Cushite pharaohs had fled to Cush. All right, work on the reading notes for section 3, and that's it. Remember, you can always go back and re-listen to a section or reread a section. And thank you very much for watching.